CP.
Are you serious? He's gone. 40, 30, Portis all the way. Touchdown Redskins, 64 yards.
26 minutes.
He's pretty sharp. You know, he'll coach you up on the Miami guys and everything else. He's kind of fun to be around. Got an opinion too.
You know, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to go out and be myself and say the things that I say. And, you know, for the outside world, they can deal with it how they deal with it.
26 minutes with Clinton Portis. CP. Teach him something.
Welcome to 26 Minutes, episode 20. We're going to call this episode The Beatdown because that's what happened in the national championship. It was a butt kicking, and I can't wait to get into this discussion. Joined today with my lovely co-hosts, Monica McNutt, Jake Cruntrifles. We're here, guys. 20 episodes in, 26 minutes. Episode 26 has to be something like spectacular. I'm thinking Super Bowl.
Is it
that
6
would
weeks?
fall perfect.
Is it 6
Super
weeks?
Bowl would fall perfect.
I don't know if it's. I think it would be a week after. It's 5 weeks away. 4 weeks away.
It doesn't matter. We can celebrate the post Super Bowl. Just send us to Atlanta. How about
Please,
that?
that'd be awesome.
So all right, let's get right to it. Jake, national championship, Monica. It wasn't what anyone expected.
I expected it. Believe it.
No way.
Stamp. No, I did have this funny feeling like Clemson will win, but there's no way I thought that performance would be that dominant.
I feel like it's hard to gauge when two teams like handily beat their opponents in the semifinals. I mean, we knew Alabama was extremely talented, but Clemson beating Notre Dame, I feel like a lot of people didn't really give Notre Dame much credit anyway, so that win felt a little hollow. And you put those two teams in the championship in a weird. I mean, Santa Clara, first of all, was a very strange place to have this championship,
especially for two teams from the
South,
southeast,
very south.
Yeah,
but I just look at it like this really could have gone either way in some ways because it just felt like, you know, you're in a weird environment. You've got a whole week and a half of preparation for each other. They know each other so well, and you know they're extremely talented on both sides.
Alabama did not look like Alabama that we've come to know. Even like
well,
Saban.
that happens when you got a D line, when you have a good team on the opposite side as well.
But so we're saying that they weren't pushed by Georgia? Like, even if you go, we've seen Alabama be pushed and respond a little bit. One thing for me that I was thinking about is the quarterbacks in big time situations, because prior to Oklahoma, they'd always been able to play tag team, and then we've get the magic of Alabama. In this case, tag team did not help.
Well, I think where you get the magic of Alabama is has always been their D-line being much more dominant than their opponents. And that way they create a lot of pressure. When you can go out and you have the flip side to where you're facing a team with that type of D-line. If you look back to Alabama's struggles, Mississippi State had Alabama on the ropes due to having a D-line. They put pressure on Tua, and it was an uncomfortable game. Alabama came out first half in that game and kind of got a lead. Second half, they did nothing. So this reminds me of that. You look at this Clemson defense and offense. So offensively, Clemson showed some players. Trevor Lawrence stepped up huge. For him to be a true freshman, to respond that way, for the adversity they overcame, losing Kelly Bryant, all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence with the pressure on him to go out and succeed at Clemson, for him to come out and have this type of performance was outstanding. When you look at what's his name, Hunter Renfrow, the tight end, his safety option,
the guy that's been there forever.
Yeah, his safety net. Like, they're on one accord. You look at the pass that he threw to Winthrow on the ground, like it was only catchable to him. Then you look at this young freshman in Ross, and the catches this kid was making reminded me of Ridley. The first thing I thought about was, that's their Ridley, and it was spectacular. Then you look at the odd factor, Travis Etienne at running back. This kid, last year I saw him, and I was like, oh, he's going to be good. He's a freshman. I saw a different guy in the national championship than last season. It was like he was running hard. It was the forgotten man in this game because no one talked about him. It kind of reminds me of when we played in the national championship and all the hoopla about the Miami Hurricanes, and it was like, no one is even saying anything about me. I got to make sure that I make it known. And it was a little excerpt in Sports Illustrated where Nebraska said, if we're going to beat Miami, we have to stop Clint Portis. But it wasn't national media. It wasn't old headlines. It was just Nebraska felt like if they stopped me, they could win the game. And I feel like that's what the situation was with Clemson last night.
Yeah. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, so many like the back shoulder throws too, where like
that man
just
was so accurate, like for the pressure that was in his face. And then you look at the flip side. Tua was uncomfortable. Tua was uncomfortable. He wasn't looking downfield. Like the running game was there, but you're down 21. You're down 21, averaging 7 yards a carry. You're running out of time.
What was more impressive was just the second half in Clemson, because it was always there's that joke on Twitter where it's like, all right, I'm going to go to bed. It's really late, but I expect to wake up with like 30 seconds left and Alabama will be on top by 7 or something. You know, because that's the way it's really gone. The last couple times Alabama and Clemson played each other, it's always come down to that last, who has the ball last. And even if there is a big disparity at halftime like there was, you knew Alabama was going to figure it out, or Nick Saban was going to rile them up in halftime, but it just didn't happen.
In the post game though, Trevor Lawrence and why am I blanking on my coach's name? Dabo. They seem like guys that you genuinely root for. Like Dabo was so overjoyed, and naturally he should.
Sunshine.
But like, yes, that's all I keep thinking about when I see Trevor Lawrence. But I think one of the conversations that's been really interesting coming out of the game is the eligibility rule and should Trevor be able to go to the league right now. And then I did hear somebody point out just like the coaching, how if Saban wasn't Saban, like he would be getting hammered in terms of his calls last night. Which,
I mean,
well, you got to look at that offensive coordinator. Mike Locksley as the offensive coordinator.
Shout out to University of Maryland head coach.
The University of Maryland job. Lock's a good man. Recruited me actually to the University of Maryland. He was so close but so far away.
You wasn't leaving the South.
Listen, Maryland was my top choice. Like
really?
I was sold on going to the University of Maryland. My best friend was already there, so I was sold.
Wow, you're hurting a lot of.
Then
Maryland
what
fans
happened
right now?
Miami. I went on my visit to Miami the following week.
Where you had that inspiring chat with your future teammates.
Yeah, and it was over. So, but when you look at this game, you don't look. You look at Saban, you look at Dabo, and the Dabo players are having such a great time. They're easygoing, like they're open. It seems like if you're looking for a coach to play for, I want to play for Dabo. And you look on Alabama's sideline now after the victory. You know, they're professional. It's like after the victory, okay, good, we won. We're Alabama. But you look at Dabo and the players coming up doing the death row skit. Like if you want a coach that's going to dance all up in the locker room and be all in the videos, then come to Death Valley. I thought that was a great stamp for them in recruiting just as a university as a whole, because Clemson, when I went on my visit to Clemson, the only thing that was there was Max Burgers.
Have you ever seen that though? Like a recruiting pitch like that after the national championship? I don't think I've seen something like that where people were actively wanting more kids to come to their school.
Well, they're going to get them. I mean, it's hands down, they're going to get them.
I think now relationships are so important in recruiting, just in terms of social media and the way these kids think. Like, you have to think out of the box in terms of recruiting, and it has to come across sincere, not just from the coach, but like the rest of the guys as well.
So, better coach. Like when you look at coaching edges and everyone talking about Saban and his legacy, better coach. Who would you rather play for? Better coach, and who would you rather play for?
Well, I don't know. That's really tough because I think I would naturally be inclined to play for Nick Saban only because I would want to see how he's run a program like this for so long. I'd like to just see the inner workings of what it's like to play for him, because it's similar to Belichick, right? And they have a good connection too, where you just once you have that perspective, then when you go somewhere else, it gives you an understanding of what you now maybe want to change from Saban's point of view, but also the things that really make him work and make that program work.
And I'm the opposite. I would want to play for Dabo to knock off Saban. And for me, real life comparison, like that's why I ended up at Georgetown as opposed to some of the schools that were far more established. I think you have to understand personality, and I probably am not as tightly wound as a Saban or a Belichick, and they would probably hate me to a degree outside of the fact that I would have been working hard. I actually had a coach tell me that I was too happy in preseason workouts my freshman year, and we got into a huge thing, but he turned out to be my boy the rest of the way. I think just the idea of knocking off the established power, to me, is like establishing your own legacy separate from what is already known.
I'm like you. I think the challenge of knocking off the best. Like, I could never go join a program that was on the top. Like, I would never want to participate with the winner. I couldn't go join the Golden State Warriors unless they drafted me. Now, I couldn't go join a program that was on the top, that's at the king of the hill, because I'm not doing anything. But now I would go join the rival, or I would go join a rebuild, as in the University of Miami when I came through. So when you look at these situations, I think when you look at Dabo, his personality, his energy, how his players talk about him, how his players are excited to celebrate with him compared to Nick Saban and his players. You know, I think they have a good relationship. You see a lot of the Alabama guys back on the sideline and involved in the program. But I would definitely rather play for Dabo. And with that coming up, Jake, pay the bills.
All right, I will pay the bills. Helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com.
So now we've discussed the
College football
championship,
playoff.
and we got another championship coming up. You know, the road to the Super Bowl, and playoff weekend one was really exciting. You know, you look at the Cowboys being victorious, beating Seattle. You look at the Eagles after Nagy does Peterson a favor and beat the Minnesota Vikings so the Eagles can get into the playoffs. It comes back to haunt him. The Eagles go to Chicago and defeat the Bears, who everyone felt like was a Super Bowl contender. You look at the Chargers knocking off the Ravens, and who was the other game? Oh,
Colts and
the
Texans.
Colts. Yes, the Colts look unstoppable.
So I was in Indy this weekend for a women's basketball game, and so it actually sparked an interesting debate, sidebar, whether Indiana really loves its basketball, as we're all taught, that it's like a birthplace of basketball, or whether they get behind the Colts more. And as usual, whoever's winning, but they do have a special love for basketball. But that was really cool. Like downtown, everybody had on their jerseys, like St. Elmo's, all the restaurants had different specials and stuff, but they're really excited in Indy. I mean, Andrew Luck, wow.
Can we talk about Cody Parkey, though?
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about
And
Cody
Lamar
Parker.
Jackson. I want to get to that one too.
So, can you explain to me what did Kobe Bryant exactly say to Cody Parkey after he lost
I got
the
Kobe
game,
if you want it.
essentially?
Yeah, you could read it.
All right, Kobe tweets with a caption from SportsCenter as Cody Parkey answered post-game questions like a true professional. We've all been here, Cody, but if you want to win back the city, you got to get back in the lab and have a historic season next year to bury this one. I'm happy for my Eagles nation, but as a fellow pro athlete, you got to grind harder and double down. No excuses, just get ish done.
Okay, here's my issue with that. Doubling down, getting back in the lab. Kickers are not normal football. They're not really football players in the logical sense of what Kobe's talking about. All right, you can't go back, double down this offseason as a kicker, and it makes sense that you're going to make more kicks next year. Like, that just doesn't work. I mean, they're a special breed. They're it's all mental. I mean, a lot of it is. I mean, you can be better physically. You can start to figure out different mechanics. Of course, that happens throughout the whole course of a season. But to say, well, if Cody doesn't want to miss that kick in the same situation next year, he's just going to have to work harder. I don't think that's really apt to what the kicker's responsibilities are.
I agree with you. I agree with you for the fact that Kobe, as an NBA player or NFL player, you got the opportunity to work in the offseason. You could get stronger, faster, whatever it is. You could work your butt off. As a kicker, Like, what do you do? Like, go in leg press or squat more? Like, I'm going to get more power in my legs. And this is good. You still got to have the accuracy.
It wasn't about power. It was about the accuracy.
Yeah, you still got to have the accuracy, the aim, the being able to catch and hold the kick. Like, it's so many other people that comes into play. The snapper got to have a good snap. The holder got to be able to catch it, get it down, get the laces turned in the right direction before you kick. And as a kicker, you got to get all this done. If any glitch is in the system, then you're off. So I think it's hard for Cody to recover from that.
So I think y'all have been a little too literal about it. I don't think it's literally.
Well, I understand what Kobe was saying.
Right. Like,
he's saying get better, come back, have a better season next year. But when a kicker hits the upright 5 times, it's a mental thing. It's in his head.
So you go and prep however you got to prep mentally.
Nick
Double
Anderson,
down, though, it doesn't mean.
Perfect example. Nick Anderson, when he missed the free throw and the Magic were in the NBA Finals against the Rocket. Nick Anderson misses a free throw that could have won them the game. He misses that free throw, and Nick Anderson entire game changed after that. After going from being a three-point shooter and a key player in the Magic, he got traded to the Kings, and he never recovered from that.
I hope it's not true, but I don't think Cody Parkey is going to recover from this. I don't think he can come back to Chicago.
I don't think Cody Parkey is on Chicago. I don't think he's Chicago kicker next year.
Okay, and all of that's fine, but I think the one thing I will say about all this, and I don't know if this will happen moving forward or if the prevalence of social media continues to rise. Like, the man shouldn't die because he missed a kick. Like, people got to chill out. Like, this. And plus, I like what Dwayne Wade said. He was like, most of you have no idea how hard this is to do. Cody Parkey, way to face the media like a true professional. I'm a fan. Granted, athletes get paid tons of money to be good at what they do. However, they're still human beings. Like, all the fan videos and whatever, like, people seriously have to chill out.
Also, it was tipped. And I don't know how that affects it.
Yeah, but the tip just allowed it to hit the goalpost. If it wouldn't have been tipped, I think it just would have been wide left.
I just still go back to the fact that kickers, they're like major league relievers. Like, you have one great year, then you have a really bad year. But I feel like this could go a Blair Walsh situation. I mean, look at the Vikings and the Seahawks. Remember that game?
Yeah.
He missed that easy extra point, and that basically spiraled his career down. He couldn't live up anymore.
Most of the time, if you have that kind of performance, like, it takes a strong individual to recover, and it's not just that moment. Even if you look to Tony Romo botching the snap against Seattle, so it's so many instances that you have to reflect on. But out of this wild card weekend, the biggest thing that comes to mind is just my friends. I got a lot of friends as Cowboy lovers. I'm sorry, I got a lot.
How does that work?
Sif, Dog, Hop, like, they love the Cowboys. And Smoke, like, everyone, everything they put up, every post that's Cowboys, they tag me in it. And the only thing that I could think of was continuously hearing about the Cowboys. And all of a sudden, someone tagged me and Shannon Sharp in a post saying, don't you hate when your friends are Cowboys fans and you got to hear, we them boys. How about them boys? Like, and this is what I was thinking prior to it. And the Cowboys coming out of our division, go on to beat the Seattle Seahawks. If it was one team I couldn't root for this weekend, it was the Cowboys. Like, the Eagles, I didn't mind. Like, I'm kind of like, I hope the Eagles get an opportunity to repeat and go back to the Super Bowl. But the Cowboys winning, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Agreed.
But I don't think. I mean, look, they're playing the New Orleans Saints, right? So,
They beat them.
they're playing the Rams. Either way, it's going to be extremely difficult. But
I don't know, Jake. I don't know.
Are we making picks right now? Or are we?
No, we're gonna make the picks shortly. But
Woo. Okay, real quick, Lamar Jackson, should he have been pulled CP?
there was a point in the game I thought he should have been pulled, but then I was listening to D'Angelo Hall on FS1, and D'Angelo said the same thing that I was thinking. Like, if you pull him and something happens to Flacco, then you've lost the asset. If Flacco go out and get hurt or anything, like for you to be able to trade Flacco, move Flacco, get something for Flacco.
Can you really? Can you really think like that though?
I mean, yeah, you can, because it happens.
That
It
wasn't.
No,
happened.
but you're trying to win a game. You're John Harbaugh. You're not thinking, can't do anything because this is going to affect our future
For
contract.
the reason you couldn't do anything was the pressure from the Chargers. It wasn't per se Lamar Jackson inaccuracy or not being able to make a play. It was the pressure, the defensive scheme that came from the Chargers. So I understand what Harbaugh was saying, like putting Flacco in the game.
Doesn't
He
solve
wasn't going to
anything.
be able to
Yeah.
avoid the pressure that we was getting. Our O-line is playing horrible.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who was in the game. You could go get me Tom Brady. We can't avoid that.
That's true.
What I mean, I feel like on the NFL level, this is not Alabama, Tua, and Jalen, right? Like if you're moving forward with Lamar Jackson, then you got to roll with it. And ultimately, he ends up falling short of a comeback. But to me, and this is not X and O's football, there was a reason Flacco was benched. To your point, like I don't know what you expected him to do.
You know what came out of that? If you pull Lamar Jackson, then you don't get an opportunity to see the heroics that came from Lamar Jackson. So
Agreed.
It was a difference in a confidence builder and what you build on over the offseason. So if Lamar Jackson would have got pulled, he got to spend the entire offseason discussing being benched, and now they got to answer the questions. Well, if Flacco come back and make this win, now I can't get rid of Flacco.
Quarterback
and maybe
controversy.
he should be the quarterback.
It's so hard in football. I feel like it's one of those. I think about baseball a lot. It's like if a pitcher doesn't have his stuff, you pull the starter, right? And it's like, yeah,
not
sometimes
right.
just people don't have great games. But it's like football, it seems everything is magnified. You do that in a football game, it's like, oh, is there a big controversy? No, Justin Verlander gets pulled in the second inning. He's still going to go out his next start and maybe pitch 9 innings. Like, I don't know. It's always funny to me how the sport shifts and then the mentality completely changes just based off one game. When you're trying to win a game, I don't know, you make a switch to do something different.
Well, we're trying to win a game, and we're trying to keep this show airing, so get the reads, Jake.
Guys, let me tell you a little bit about our friends at your local D.C. area Meineke Car Care Centers. Great place to have everything you need done to keep your car on the road. It's so important to maintain your car, and there are 19 Meineke Car Care locations in the greater Washington, D.C. area to help you do so. With services from oil change to brake repair, the experts at Meineke have you covered. Right now, get a basic oil change for only $19.95. Go in today or save time by booking online at Meineke.com. Meineke, on with life.
Welcome back to 26 Minutes. So, an article came out by Seth Wickersham, and it said Redskins had the coaches. In response to nothing about the Redskins coaching changes, but it was just saying the coaches that were on the Redskins rosters that now have head coaching jobs, which were Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and now Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. They were all here.
So what he's saying is this is the breeding ground for elite NFL minds.
Jake tweeted that he's up next for a head coaching job because he knows Sean McVay.
Yeah, Kevin Clark tweeted out a little photo. He said, "Do you know Sean McVay? If the answer is yes, you'll probably get a head coaching job. If the answer is no, you won't." And that is kind of the running gag right now, right? Because if you are in the mold of a young, good-looking guy who has a lot of
Energy.
and a lot of offensive acumen. He's
Creative.
and it's mostly offensive minds, right? It's not even defensive guys. Then you are kind of the hot ticket in town. And the Packers just signed Matt LaFleur to a 4-year contract to be their head coach.
Well, when you look at it, these coaches came from under Shanahan. When you look under Mike Shanahan and head coaches, look at Kubiak, you think of Kubes and that generation. Then all of a sudden you come to Kyle, and these were like Kyle buddies, Kyle, Matt, and Sean, and now they're all head coaches for NFL teams, leading organizations. It's kind of like, we had them right here. And
It doesn't work like that, though. It just doesn't. Like, I feel you, but no. I mean, this was first of all, there's time. LaFleur just got this job, and so he's bounced around. What was he, Tennessee most
still
recently?
have 3 players from your staff as head coaches. I mean, 3 people from your
Under
staff.
Shanahan, to your point, like we can't negate the time they've been gone, particularly for LaFleur. Like, you're still growing, you're still evolving. Also, Sean, I mean, Sean was probably obviously ready. He went to LA and did his thing, but I don't think Like
he's kind of a unicorn. Like who would have guessed that this 31-year-old coach was going to be the first or the youngest head coach? I mean,
it just doesn't
But
work
you know
like
when
that.
you have a mind, right? It's like when you're working with someone, you've worked with talent. We've all worked with talent that you say, you know what, he's about to blossom, or he's going to take off, or he's going to be different. It's like for me looking at Cooley or someone, looking at D'Angelo Hall or someone that I think could be great in front office field or space or coaching. I think of an Ed Reed or Santana Moss. Like, how do you not go get Santana and put on the staff? For someone that's in the coaches, Philip Buchanan, I think would be outstanding as a DB coach because he has all the tools. Like he's a student, and so many people overlook this. And it's like, I want you to prove to me. I want you to show me. But then when you look at the people they have doing it, it's like, as a DB coach, you can't go and get Hulk Hogan because he's ripped up and make me listen to him. Like, I have to believe and understand, or this man got to show me somebody at work or some success in his track record to say, you know what, maybe he's telling me right. Not necessarily that he played the game, because people that I admire or look up to, Bobby T as a running backs coach. Bobby T didn't play football. Dunny Solinger. Coach Solinger didn't play football, but they are students, and you could relate, and they've had so much success with the people that came before you. It's easy to say, you know what, I'm going to listen to this man.
I think this argument also assumes that those people are nothing but, give me the next opportunity. They have their own ambitions. Mm-hmm. Even if you said, okay, Sean McVay's going to be OC, we're going to put Kyle at quarterbacks coach, and we'll put LaFleur at whatever. Like, first of all, there's not enough positions for all of them to flourish. Right. And so that's to assume that the Redskins had the pieces and we blew it because we had these genius minds here, is also to assume that they're dumb and have no ambitions of their own. Like, it's cool to use where you at to get you to your next spot.
Right. Well, the other part is too, maybe Sean McVay didn't have the same qualities or maybe he had those qualities, but he never really showed them much here. He didn't have the opportunity to show them here. Right?
Or maybe he wanted to run his own ship.
Right. And so,
and then when you put him in position to run his own ship, and it's a ship that's sinking, and all of a sudden he got a yacht.
All of a sudden
he went from a ship that was sinking to now it's afloat and it's a yacht.
Yacht parties, in fact.
Right. I'm just saying, I think it can sometimes be the case where you have that first opportunity, and maybe you do kind of start to show off parts of your personality that you hadn't really been able to or hadn't really known that was part of you. I mean, I think that's part of it too. When the first time you're given an opportunity for something, and maybe it opens something inside, you're like, wow, I didn't know I had this skill I could flex now. Like, I'm gonna really lean into this. I think that's part of it too.
I mean, think about our first podcast together, guys. We've learned how to flex and grow since then. Episode 20 now.
Well, everyone has grown. I think you all have done a tremendous job. I see you on the sidelines doing college basketball, and I say, you know what? Maybe Monica got a little knowledge. Maybe she knows sports. You look at Jake and all of his articles that's coming out about everything else outside of Redskins. It's like, oh well. In the beginning, I didn't know either of you. I didn't know what Jake wrote. I didn't know Jake would, had such a great talent. So, but what I do know is it's time for Jake and Monica to give us the best thing they saw this week.
All right. Well, I'll start off. And the Golden Globes were Sunday night, right after the Bears game. It was not a great Golden Globes because there were a couple of winners that I was very disappointed in.
I agree with you, Jake. Whatever you say, I agree.
But I still enjoyed the award shows are always good because you get to see people kind of off the cuff talking, actors, using their platforms for good. Regina King had an incredible speach. Glenn Close had a great speech at the end, and I think sometimes we kind of there's a lot of, I think the main point of both of their speeches is really, there are movements that are great. Time's Up, Me Too. There's a lot of stuff that I think Hollywood likes to parrot out and trumpet, but the actual part about Regina King saying, I'm gonna take the next 2 years, and every production I'm in, I'm going to have 50% women on the production staff. Like, that's a statement, that's a promise that she's making. That's more than just the button that she wears. So I really like that aspect of it. I think that's where I think more of the stuff needs to happen. There needs to be more statements and promises being made about stuff, because there is change happening, but it's still pretty glacial. Like it needs to happen a little bit quicker.
Our attention span definitely allows us to shift gears and forget whatever the most recent
for sure.
movement
Because
was.
Time's Up didn't even feel like a real movement this year.
When you brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, that was one.
big last year. It was big Golden Globes and Oprah Winfrey had her moment. But then it hasn't really had the same momentum.
There's a lot going on in our society. All right, I always bring in an article. I didn't finish this one yet, full disclosure, but it just captivated me from the jump. In the Boston Globe, Boston College teammates Vin Baker Jr. and Chris Herron Jr. share a bond born of adversity. Your one-liner, folks? Both players have fathers whose lives were ravaged by addiction before they recovered to help others. So these two guys play on Boston College now, but their dads both played for the Celtics.
Ben Baker played with the Bucks. He was one of my favorite players, and I was wondering. I remember he used to wear number 42. He played for the Bucks. He was such a good athlete, and all of a sudden, it was like he was supposed to be like a Sean Kemp, before his time, and then he just faded away.
So it was funny because when I was telling my dad I was reading it, he said the same thing. He was like, "Oh, I never really knew what happened to Vinny Baker." But the article just talks about their hymns or their unfortunate dealings with addiction. And what that looks like in terms of their father-son relationship, the relationship between those two boys in terms of understanding what that has been like and clearing those hurdles. Both men, as far as I've gotten, are clean now, and they actually speak about addiction and try to use their stories to inspire and help others. But I think, again, you never know what athletes are dealing with, right? Like, you just never know, but you just got to remember that they're human too, whether they come up short or whether they make the play that you remember for the rest of your life.
Like what's so fascinating is people don't understand as human beings. It's like looking at reverends or politicians or, people of power, and you don't understand that they have, when you go home, like no matter what you lead, what youth or what movement you lead, when you go home, it's like community, right? When you go back to where you're from in your community, people don't see the growth in you. And they know you. They know, and you could change, but they know the little bad person. Yep. They know the little, when you didn't have much, or, when your house wasn't that nice, or when you used to come to school smelling like pee because you peed in the bed as a kid, that's the person they remember. So to a lot of people, no matter your growth, they don't see it. And they're stuck on your past. And when someone is stuck on your past, even you have that battle, because it's like you always want to stay true to where you came from. Like, this is where I'm from and this is what I believe in. But there's so many bad memories about where you're from. And you overcame that adversity and you grew and you blossomed and you became this or that. But it's like fighting with demons, because you change as a person. Like, now I'm leading these people, and I remember where I'm from, but I want to lead these people the right way, and I want them to not make the mistakes that I made. And it's tough. Like, it's so tough to lead people. You look at kids, and you just say on the park, being involved in kids' lives, or you look at my kids and having their homeboys and their little friends around, and you want to have them around and like, oh man, why don't you coach? You would be great at coaching. Because every parent don't understand how I'm coaching their kid. Every parent don't accept the advice that I'm giving their kid, because we're from different backgrounds. So where I'm trying to make your kid tough, because I see your son is soft and lost.
Did you call my kid soft?
It's in him. The dog is in him.
Right.
If I could get mama to stop, oh baby, it's gonna be okay. It's somebody else's fault you missed the free throw. It's somebody else's fault that you didn't catch that pass. No. He needed to take a lap. He needed to take responsibility for what he did wrong, and that's the issue. With so much in life, is taking responsibility for what you did and understand it's you. And if I fail, don't worry. I'm going to get back up. Like, I'm going to bounce back. So, like, for me, in every situation I went through in life, when I cross paths with people, it's like, oh, man, I heard what you went through. Like, what I went through, what I dealt with, was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it happened to me, and it made me grow as a man. Right? It made me grow as a man, a human, a person, like an individual, because I won't go through it again. But I could teach this lesson. Like, it was a lesson that I needed to learn. But it was something that I already knew as far as trust. Like you shouldn't trust people. Don't deal with people. I don't know these people. These people don't have a genuine best interest for me. They have a genuine interest for them in trying to get to the money. I already got the money. So why am I giving it to you to improve you instead of holding my own money? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's mentalities and lessons in life that you already know that you kind of forget about. And that's what, that's how I would tie it in. You forget what you already know because you've moved on. And the same way with the movements. It's so many movements, we keep moving on to another movement. You forget, oh, this was an issue last year, but we're on another issue this year. So that makes it hard if you understand. But when we come back, the best thing I saw this week, we'll definitely get to that.
Are uninvited pests ruining your plans? Let PMSI, the pest control partner of the Washington Redskins, handle it for you. Call today for your free inspection, and they'll work around your schedule to provide you the best solution possible to defend your home territory against pests of all kinds, including mold. Visit mypmsi.com for the game plan to control the pests on your home turf. That's mypmsi.com. Hail to the Redskins this year with gear from the official Redskins team store. From Nike player and personalized jerseys to a great selection of new era hats, the Redskins team store has you covered. Plus, we have an amazing variety of youth and ladies apparel and everything you need to throw the perfect tailgate party. And we have signs, flags, and collectibles for the perfect Redskins man cave. So hail to the Redskins in style at any of our 4 Redskins team stores or online anytime at redskins-teamstore.com.
This is Rick Goslin with the Talk of Fame Network. This NFL season, FanDuel has more ways to win than ever before. New Beat the Score contests pay out everyone who hits a certain score. Now it's easy to find your friends and challenge them to play head-to-head fantasy contests for cash or bragging rights. New players, try FanDuel today and get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Rick.
New users only. Bonus not available for withdrawal. State and age restrictions apply. For eligibility rules, terms, and conditions, go to FanDuel.com.
I'm trying to meet that boy Clinton Portis, though. They say that boy, they say he's smooth on his feet. I'm trying to teach him something.
Teach him something.
Teach him something.
So the best thing I saw wasn't as good as you all. Y'all went in depth. And Monica searching stories, feel good stories.
Good story.
So for me, it's totally going back to college and all these high school comparisons about the best collegiate team ever. And every time you have a good team, the first thing they say, oh, this team could have beat the University of Miami 2002 Hurricanes. No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't have beat the 02 Hurricanes. And for every team, I always look at this, and I'm not saying this because I was on that squad. It's the fact that every team has so many flaws and gaps and holes. We didn't have any flaws, gaps, or holes. If you look at D lineman, Vince Wilfork led our D line, right? You look at linebacker, Jonathan Vilma led our linebacking core. You look at cornerbacks, Philip Buchanan, Mike Rump led our cornerbacks. Safeties, well, how about you got Ed Reed and Sean T? It's no deficiencies. You look at our offensive line, Bryant McKinney was the anchor at left tackle. Vernon Carey was the guard. Jeremy Shockey was the tight end. Kellen Winslow backed up Jeremy Shockey. You look outside, Andre Johnson was the wide receiver who had just finished backing up Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne. You look at the quarterback position where everyone said, well, Ken Dorsey wasn't that good. Ken Dorsey was perfect when you got all of these athletes around and he just got to understand, let me put the ball in their hand. You look at the running back position, Najee Davenport, Clint Portis, Jared Payne, Willis McGahee, and Frank Gore.
I want to push you just a little bit. Because granted, y'all were supremely
Don't push
just
me.
a little bit. Just a little bit. Because listen, there's no doubt that you guys were supremely talented. But to Michael Jordan's point in the GOAT conversation is it will never be done in terms of you actually squaring up with any of these teams that are perceived to be on your level.
That's the ultimate sports wish, right?
And because we know in sports, sometimes talent, CP, doesn't always get it done. Y'all could have had an off day and ran into the Clemson of yesterday and it could have been a problem. Hypothetically, we will never know.
Yeah, but now that's on an off day. You're talking about on both teams' best day.
No, I feel you.
So you're saying on both teams' best day, like, we don't have that slip up. We had that slip up in 2001. That's why the 2001 team wasn't the best team of all time. But in my mind, I tell people all the time, my 2001 team was way better than my 2002 team, because along with what we had on 02, you got Santana Moss, Reggie Wayne, Dan Morgan, Damian Lewis. Like, you have Al Blades. So you have all this in addition to what we had in 02. But we slipped up in Washington. We slipped, and the moment we slipped, we knew, like, we just ruined this. So we can't slip again. So after that season was over, and me, Andre Johnson, and Philip Buchanan competed in everything on a daily. Roscoe Parrish, like Frankie G, we competed in everything on a daily. Who's going to eat first? Like, who's going to be done? Back in the weight room. Okay, our basketball team, it's time to go play basketball. Ed Reed and his squad against me, Dre, and Phil and our squad. It's just competition. Like, everything is competition. And if I come in and Dre and Phil not in the gym, and it's like, well, CP, who you going to play with? I'm definitely not playing with Ed Reed. That's who I'm not playing with. Now, I'll play with a makeshift team. I'll play with Mr. Bell, or I'll play with CJ, but CJ and Swayze and Mr. Bell, that's my competition. I don't like them either. But it was a friendly competition. It was a good time. Everybody enjoyed. Then we eat after, and it's like, okay, tomorrow it's on again. We were the king of the hill today. Tomorrow we got to come back and compete again.
All right, before we go, I'm curious, what is your, I mean, we've already been talking about it for you, I'm sure, but what's the, you have the time machine. Which team do you face with which team from the past? Like, do you take Golden State Warriors of last year?
No, we're going with his college football team.
And the Jordan Bulls. I'm talking any sport. Like, okay. Jordan Bulls 96 versus the Golden State 2017.
But this is what people fail to realize. Although the Jordan Bulls were so good, remember the Portland Trail Blazers that nobody talk about? They kept playing the Bulls. Clyde Drexler, Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, like Cliff Robinson. They kept playing the Bulls. They were a dynasty as well. They just couldn't get past the Bulls. So when you look at the situation, I would say you take the Bulls and maybe match them up with it should be like a 4-team, but then it would be tough because everybody should play each other. Yeah, like I would say the Bulls and the Warriors. Yeah. Right? You take the Bulls and the Warriors and you let them play a 7-game series at their best. Like, this, you know what I mean? Like,
where does the changes in the game fall, though, in terms of officiating? Like, whose rules are we playing by?
Yeah, you got to play by the real rules, and that's the Bulls' rules. That's the years where you can nail somebody coming in, and it wasn't just
you take a referee. You take a referee from like circa 2003.
Somebody is going to simulate this, and it's going to be a thing that every sports fan tunes into.
No, but like, I think just the toughness of the game, and that's why I say, especially for today's game, like, the toughness is gone. It's totally different. And the mindset, like kids, we had grown men that were grown before their time on our team. So it was a mindset, it was a hunger, it was a desire because we had already lost. Whereas these kids today, it's kind of like, I'm entitled. I'm at Clemson and we're the best team and we got the best facility and we deserve this, So that's what make it tough. But we're running out of time on 26 minutes. Thanks for joining episode 20 in the books. You can catch us next week for episode 21. Peace out to everyone.
Your Redskins 365 update for this Monday, January 7th. The offseason is well underway. Quiet here at Redskins Park as a couple of players are still coming in and doing some stuff, but for the most part, pretty quiet, and all focus in the NFL, of course, on the playoff games this weekend. In the NFC, it will be Dallas taking on the LA Rams in LA. The Eagles will travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And then on the other side in the AFC, the Chargers will go to New England to play the Patriots, while the #1 seeded Chiefs will host the Colts. As far as the Redskins news go, if there is any breaking news, make sure to keep it locked to @Redskins on Twitter and Redskins.com.